Highway Christian Community Church celebrates 30 years. Where it all began. In the mid-80s, a group of Christians in the Westville, Durban area came together. They were dissatisfied with normal Christianity and were seeking a deeper experience in their Christian walk. They heard about the outpouring of Holy Spirit taking place at the Hatfield Church in Pretoria and decided to take a closer look. The Hatfield Church, under the leadership of Pastor Ed Rabert, was part of a network of churches called the International Fellowship of Christian Churches, IFCC. They were experiencing rapid growth and influence in the country. In 1986, the group meeting in Westville contacted the Hatfield Church, who put them in touch with the IFCC coordinators in the Durban region. That same year, the Westville group joined the Hatfield Tape Library Ministry and listened to the 2 Sunday sermons from Hatfield over a 2-year period. In 1987, Pastor Ed Rabert's TV ministry had resulted in video churches being planted across the country, of which the group in Westville became one. Later that same year, Brian Miller was appointed overseer of the group in Westville that now met in the garage of Dave and Louise Gibbon. On Sunday, they would perform their own worship and then switch over to watch the video from Hatfield. The church in Westville continued to grow. The leaders contacted Hatfield to recommend a full-time pastor. In 1998, Hatfield sent Pastor Herman and Joy Basson to the Highway Church. Soon thereafter, they also sent Pastor Kevin Vanek to be the youth pastor. The Westville group adopted the name Highway Christian Community, or HCC. From 1988 to 1992, HCC continued to grow, from a garage in Westville into a school hall in Westville North, into a scout hall in Cowies Hill, and then eventually into the Technicon Hall in Pinetown. Sadly, Pastor Herman Basson passed away in 1992, and the church grieved his death. The church pulled together around the Basson family and continued to grow. Later that year, they contacted the Hatfield Church in Pretoria to recommend a pastor couple to come to HCC. Hatfield recommended Pastor Greg and Michelle Haswell, who were then called to Highway. Greg Haswell started the radio station Highway Radio 101.5, which had a widespread positive influence in the area. The church continued to grow under the leadership of Greg and Michelle and eventually moved to Harvey Road in Pinetown. In 1996, the Highway Church leadership called Steve and Janet Wheeler, who were pastors at the Hatfield Church in Pretoria. They were sent from Hatfield in April of 1996. Sadly, in 1997, Pastor Ed Rabert passed away. After the death of Pastor Ed Rabert, the Highway Church began relating to NCMI, as Greg Haswell and the leaders of Highway had formed relationships with the church network called New Covenant Ministries International, led by Pastor Dudley Daniel. In 1999, Greg and Michelle felt called and were sent from South Africa to plant a church in Atlanta, USA, where they have planted a great church which continues to thrive and where they currently reside. That same year, Steve and Janet Wheeler were appointed to lead HCC. In the 2000s, working together with the NCMI team, a number of pastors from Highway were sent out to plant and transition churches in the USA, Cape Town, the Eastern Cape, Canada, Sydney, and locally into the wider Durban region. Some pastors were released back into business where they felt God calling them. Around 2005, we had to make a decision about what to do with our dilapidated, fast deteriorating church building. The elders decided on rebuilding and extending our current building. The home groups proposed artistic impressions of what the new church could look like, and a building team was project managed under Mike Gibbon. One home group built a thermometer wall and launched various fundraising projects. Architectural work under Mike Patterson and construction work under Villy Smith went ahead full steam. About 50% of the funds were raised by the church, and the rest we got through a bond from the bank. A bond that was recently settled. In 2007, the founder of NCMI retired due to health reasons, and some of the apostolic leaders that were on his team formed new apostolic networks. In the early 2000s, one of the founding leaders of NCMI, Pastors Rob and Glenda Rufus, had moved to Hong Kong to plant a church. In 2006, Rob began preaching a radical message on the finished work of the cross. This message was bringing fresh and powerful revelation to the message of grace found in the New Covenant. In 2008, a group of leaders from Highway attended a conference in Hong Kong and were radically impacted by the message of grace. Over the next couple of years, a group of pastors started forming a team around the leadership of Rob Rufus. This team now goes by the name In Resonance 360. In Resonance refers to those who resonate with the message of grace. 360, as in degrees, refers to the scope and the all-inclusiveness of this team to collaborate with other apostolic teams around the world. August 2018. Great news! Highway Church building is completely paid off. As we look back on the past 30 years, we are so grateful to God for His leading, guidance, and the work He is doing through and in HCC. Now we need to look forward to the next 30 years. The dominant vision for our